I never thought it at any point thought it was like boring or not interesting, but it does kind of like take you up the roller coaster hill, and you're kind of like learning cool, interesting stuff, but also like there's not a huge sense of urgency outside of the fact that there's always some degree of urgency, but like you never feel like stressed. It's like, whatever. I'll just do it next time.
It's fine. There's a loop.
And then you hit a point where it doesn't like nothing changes mechanically ever, but you hit a point where you're like, oh fuck, I gotta figure this out. Because you start to like hit like specific things that are like, oh god. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually pretty much agree with that. I think, by the way, we are live, but I think it does pace itself really well. I think I kind of have not been keeping up with it because I hate this fucking chair. So sitting in front of a computer for any time more than an hour just sucks. So
I have that same problem sometimes with my chair. Also, we don't have I know we have a loaded stack of stuff between at least like three of us, but actually the game I played the most this week was Dauntless. So
that's cool.
I can touch on that too.
Dauntless is a neat thing, y'all.
I love it. It's my favorite Monster Hunter. Definitely.
All right, whatever. I'm going to share our link to a couple of places, and then I'm good to go if y'all are good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Cool.
Oh, great. I have some stats I can share, too.
What? Stats?
Don't worry. Just start the show as normal. We'll get there. I just found a really good infographic.
Oh, okay. I'm a little bit...
What?
Everyone's going to love it.
Oh, God, I don't...
Why is this so low quality?
Is it about Evangelion? Because that would make sense.
No, it's not. It would make sense because that show's from 1995. And visuals were low quality on the internet then.
I'd be interested in seeing an infographic from 1995 about that show, because I don't think infographics were particularly popular.
They were not.
Okay, we are properly advertised, if you want to think of it that way. Oh god, well that was a good time for my computer to bring up notification sounds. Java update available though. Better now than in the middle of recording. So it's Canada Day, or not today. Canada Day is actually Monday, but it's Canada Day long weekend. And one of the things my office does is I've sent pictures of the view from my office, right? Like how you can kind of see that Parliament building, like the kind of palace looking place.
I think so.
Yeah. So like that's because the office is directly on the inner harbor of Victoria, and the fireworks for Canada Day happen in the inner harbor. So every Canada Day, the office gets everybody together and in the office to watch it at like midnight. Which is it's really cool. Like you can't have a better view because we're also on the top floor of that building. So like we could just go up to the roof and have like the best view of those fireworks ever. So
that's very cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be neat. Anyways, we can do this show if you guys want.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, Allison, you're up.
Okay, so all right. Hello and welcome to episode 76 of Gaming Fix. This Saturday, June 29th. I'm hosting today. I'm Allison. I'm also tired, so this might be interesting. Joining me is Erica.
Hello. Good morning.
And Alex.
Hi.
And our best boy Pat, bringing it back.
What comes to mind when I say the words Lamborghini Huracan?
Nothing.
How about 6.2 billion kilometers driven?
Kilometers don't mean anything to me. I don't know what that means.
How about 10,749 years spent in the first year of the Crew 2?
Oh, no.
Wow.
Do you want to know the most depressing stat about a video game that I have ever heard in my life?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a video game made by Ubisoft that, even though I came around on thinking is not great, I still think got a little bit too much shit. Like it is a like, it's like almost a 3-star video game.
All right, sure.
So there are 300 plus vehicles in the game, which is not that. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not like that's a reasonable. I mean, there's 150 Pokemon. Like, that's a reasonable amount of vehicles to collect. Only 34 players own them all.
Oh my god. Holy crap. 34. That's
I'm
amazing.
looking at this infographic from the first year of the Crew 2 that they shared on Twitter. And they have like some impressive, like 6.2 billion kilometers driven. Sounds impressive. Then like some people's favorite spots, favorite vehicles. The Lamborghini Huracan was the most used vehicle, all that stuff. And then one of the stats is 34 players own all 300 plus vehicles.
Oh my god.
That's not.
It makes me want to go own all the vehicles because it can't be that hard.
So then you can be 35.
Yeah. It's like 35 people. I like playing that game fine.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So sad.
Yeah. 34 is like remarkably low for people who are just like I don't know. There's got to be more people who are like really into that game.
Yeah, like, I mean, the AI is the reason that game isn't very good is that the handling is very like basic and the AI is bad. It's not like it's broken or like a terrible game to play. That's why I think it got too much shit. Is like it's a basic, you drive it around cars and planes and boats. It's fine. There's nothing about it that is. It's not like Fallout or something where like there are fundamentally broken elements to it that are like that ruin the game. It's just not hard, and the cars drive better in Forza. But like the cars drive better in Forza versus pretty much everything. So like whatever. It's a average driving game, and I think the plane and boat stuff is pretty fun. So it's just, but geez, 34 players own all 300 vehicles. That's rough.
I would think achievement hunters, would have maybe that means there's only 34 achievement hunters left. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, I think the issue for it from an achievement hunting perspective is that it requires too much of a time investment to be worth it for people who are just there for the achievements. But honestly, I've considered reinstalling it to check out some of the DLC that they put out afterwards, because like they added more stuff over the course of the year, and I didn't see any of it. Yeah, I don't know. It has a person living with a mobility disability, living like in the game, who is a badass and has a really cool car. That's more than I can say about 95% of video games that exist.
It's true.
We can't hear Alex. He's so excited about the Crew that he muted himself.
So yeah, I'm just confused as to why the Crew 2 has come up again.
It's only because I was scrolling through Twitter before we started and saw "Happy First Birthday" the Crew 2 from the Crew 2 account. I was gonna say it's been like a year. You can't really wish yourself a happy birthday either. I want to point out.
Oh, the Crew 2.
Anyways.
The Crew 2 needs to, because nobody else is going to remember.
I'm not going to promise you that we won't ever talk about the Crew 2 again, but that's all I have to say about it this week.
Cool. Well, we are going to await your thrilling Crew 2 updates.
Cool.
Which we desperately want. But in the meantime, let's talk about some video games that we've been playing. That was a bad,
which is not a video game.
The shade.
All right. Well, let's start with Alex then. With what have you been playing this week?
Well, I have stuff to talk about that's not video games, but let's talk about a video game real quick. Or let's talk about two video games real quick, and then we're going to talk about this thing for about an hour that is not a video game.
No, we specifically said we won't talk about it for an hour.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little, but not an hour. So I actually had a pretty productive week when it came to stuff for this podcast.
I was going to say productive, probably not like most people's standards of productive.
Yeah. No, I got a lot of stuff in this week. Stuff I'm not going to talk about, Resident Evil 2, because I'm not far enough in to have any strong opinions. And I think it'll be better when Andre's here so we can talk about it, because he's played that game to death. Like, he's basically started speed running it. Which is, he's nuts, but he loves it, so I can't blame him. Sorry, there's a very loud vehicle. There we go. But one of the video games I do want to talk about is Mortal Kombat 11, which I know that you have played some of, Pat, not all of, but do you know what chapter you got up to, or what was the latest story event that you saw?
I was still going through the stuff on Outworld with Kotal Khan and Jade.
Okay, so you're still pretty
reconnecting mainly. So it was fairly early, but it was like chapter 4, something like that.
Yeah, that stuff is actually pretty good. That stuff is handled pretty well.
Yeah, it is. I think it's well told, well written.
Yeah, and I think one could say that about that entire game story mode. I am a pretty big Mortal Kombat fan, I guess. I don't know if I would say like a giant fan, but like I played MK9 when it came out, whatever that was, 2011 or something, on PS3, and really liked it. And also played it on the Vita when they kind of put it out there too. Played through that story mode again and really liked it there. Like back then it was telling a story that was really neat, and the way it went from cutscene straight into fight was like something brand new, and they executed on it super well and told a really weird story. That had the worst last boss fight ever. Holy crap. Have any of you played MK9?
Oh yeah.
Because holy crap,
No.
like the fucking difficulty spike on Shao Kahn at the end is insane.
I considered playing it again before MK11 because I didn't get around to MKX, and I played that before MK11 came out. And I was like, well, maybe I'll go back and play MK9 also, because they're short games. Like those two are like under 8 hours each, so it's like in a weekend you can binge them pretty easily. And then I remembered that fight and was like, no, never mind.
It's so hard.
I remember what happened in MK9.
Yeah, the story's good, but man, that last fight, like, it is just such a wall that you slam into, and like there's nothing you can do. Like, you basically have to use exploits on him to win. Like, you have to get like stun lock him into a corner. That's the only way you can possibly win that fight. But anyways, MKX I played like 3/4 of. For some reason I just fell off of it and never came back to it, but the story was neat. It kind of had a time jump into the future, and like, you know, everybody's older and like now they have kids and stuff, and the kids were okay as characters at the time, but yeah, it was fine. So MK11 kind of went in with somewhat tempered expectations because of MKX, but I would say that it executes on its story better than either of those other two in a really significant way. And
yeah, it just early on it does, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, and like it's really, really fascinating how they're able to well, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that there's time travel in this story. Like, I think everybody kind of knows that.
It's kind of hard to spoil that game because like a lot of Yeah,
so I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it has time travel. And I think the way they handle time travel is extremely good because it's really dumb.
Yep. I don't
like, it's super dumb.
I hate time travel as a concept usually, as we talk about all the time, but in this game, I think they handled it really well. And the way that they frame it is smart too, as it being like mystical keeper of time lady fucking with time is so much better than like we built a time machine.
Totally. Yeah. And so basically what they're able to do is pull together the stories of MK9 and MKX and like a bunch of other mainline Mortal Kombat games, frankly. Like Armageddon gets some show in, and Shaolin Monks gets some show in. Like, they go through the entire catalog. MK2 makes a big appearance near the end.
Yep.
Like, it's real fucking cool, and they treat it well, and its internal logic stays consistent, which is good, but again, super fucking dumb in a really awesome way. And I think the last chapter is something that we need to talk about at some point. So
yeah, I will finish it. I just got away from me because a bunch of stuff came out at once, but yeah, I will definitely.
Like, the last chapter is real nuts in a way that extends far beyond anything else I've seen in a Mortal Kombat game in a really good way. So like when it comes to Game of the Year time, we're going to be talking about that explicitly. So I might say play it or watch it on YouTube because holy shit. And also, for what it's worth, that game has multiple endings. Like,
I didn't realize that. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, like there is a bad ending, there is a halfway good ending, and then there's a good ending.
Cool.
I originally got the halfway good ending and was like, oh, well, that wasn't great. It was okay, but it kind of fell flat. Then I found out there was a good ending. I was like, oh shit. So I went back and did that, and it's excellent actually. The good ending is really good. But yeah, no, I won't get into story details because I think it's still a bit too fresh to talk about. But holy crap, is it good? Yeah, MK11 is definitely. We'll be talking about it in a few months. I should note I haven't touched any of the other stuff other than the story, really. I've done some practice mode. I haven't done much of the tower, anything like that.
I did some tower stuff and some crypt stuff and some training stuff. It's a good, I mean, what I like about that game is it offers a lot of different ways for you to interface with it. So like, even if you are not good at it enough to play against other people like me, there's a lot of reason to play the AI stuff beyond the story.
Totally.
So it's not like you finish the story and then you're done. Like that's how I felt with MK9 and MKX, is like I finished the stories on them, and thankfully, like with both of them, because I kind of knew that they were short stories, I didn't buy them at full price. So that was like, I didn't feel burned. But the nice thing about MK11 is I think there's enough content there for anyone to enjoy it at full price, because it has such a wide range of like the tower stuff, and the Combat League stuff is structured really smart, where it's like you don't necessarily have to be good at it, you just have to play it a bunch, which is kind of cool. So even if you just want to play those like kind of battle pass equivalent things, you can do that without being good at it and still get the rewards. So yeah, it's structured really well, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. Also, Ronda Rousey is the worst voice actor I've ever heard. Anyways, the other game that I've been playing.
You know what? Wait, hold on. I've got something to say about that real quick.
Okay, go for it.
I've heard that from quite a few people, that like Ronda Rousey is a nightmare voice actor. And I mean, I've seen her in Fast and the Furious, so I'm aware of her acting skills. But like I said that to Xavier, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't even notice." I'm like,
oh wow, no.
Okay,
I don't know how you could not.
Yeah, I don't know. He's playing through it, and I'm just like, okay, I guess.
I mean, I guess that maybe is a commentary on. Although I don't know, because all the other voice actors in that game are really good.
Yeah, especially the one, like especially the one she interacts with most, who's Cassie Cage. Like, yeah. Like their interactions feel so strange, because like Cassie Cage sounds so natural and human, and then Ronda Rousey just sounds like she's a robot in a booth. Like you can hear the recording studio.
It's like, yeah, she's like, Cassie, no.
Ew,
that's like what she sounds like. That was a pretty good impression, actually.
I would say, yeah, that sounds better than Ronda Rousey did in that game. But like, she's the only one who doesn't pull her weight, unfortunately. But okay. I think everybody else is excellent, especially. Oh my god, yeah, we need to talk about story stuff later. But Jax gets, even if it's really just the two of us,
we'll talk about the story stuff at some point.
Yeah, the Jax stuff gets really good. Anyways, yeah, Ronda Rousey sucks. So the other game that I've been playing that we can probably talk about this for like an actual hour if you guys want.
No.
And that is one that came out just yesterday, and that is known as Super Mario Maker 2.
I feel like it'll be hard to talk about it for too long because I haven't started making levels yet.
I also haven't started making levels. I've mostly been playing them, but I have some feelings on that game. I don't know. Do you guys want to jump into it first? Allison, I know you've been playing it.
Yeah, I don't know how much I even have to say. I've been playing it too. I haven't gotten into any of the level creation. And to be honest, with Mario Maker 1, I never really got that deep into the level creation. I feel like I'd like to, but...
Yeah, I fully intend to build some levels as soon as we have the story.
But I'm like, how level design work? Like, that's my brain right now.
That's kind of why I want to do it, because I really enjoy narrative design. Like, I build lots of narrative design trees and stuff just for fun, because I like the storytelling aspect of game design, and that's something that like someday in my life I would like to do. But I am not as good at mechanical and level design, and so I'm very interested in playing this game some just to, because like when I think about how I would if you asked me like to build a pitch document for a game, I could do it in an hour, because I would be just like, I'm so into that. Like, I'm so into the idea of like concepting a game and designing the narrative. But if you're like build a Mario level, I just blank. Like, I have no idea what I would do. So I'm kind of excited at the challenge of trying to start working on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I've never done before. Like, I've done writing before. I've done that, but just figuring out how to make a decent Mario level would be good. And there are really so many options with Mario Maker too. Like, that's the thing that's kind of exciting about it. And speaking of there being so many options, there's a lot in this game.
Dude,
like, I've been playing both online levels and also some of the story levels, which is basically just the levels that Nintendo made, and they're all tied together by you're rebuilding the castle. But there's just a lot in that game, and a lot of different mechanics that have been really fun to explore. So I've been really enjoying my time with it so far. I feel like I've been playing it a lot, and I still have quite a bit that I can get out of it. And last night I played my first level that was like ended up being very difficult for me, but is kind of Kaizo light in terms of being in difficulty. Like, it wasn't necessarily like the hardest level, but it was definitely like, it had a 2 to 3% clear rate on.
That's tough.
And yeah, it kind of forced me out of my comfort zone, which was kind of fun. So I think I'd like to start trying to get better at some of those mechanics, just because it was fun to actually like learn the things that I've seen people play, because I watch a lot of with GDQ, watching people do Kaizo or Mario World ROM hacks is one of my favorite things to watch. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah. But what were you thinking, Alex?
I think it's just a really, really charming, fun experience through and through so far. I think playing in the different, I don't know, what do you want to call them, tile sets, the different Mario games, the bases, like, so you have your Super Mario Worlds and your new Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario 3s, etc. Like, they all feel distinct from one another, which is pretty impressive. And they're all fun. They all it made me appreciate the 3D World games, or 3D Land, whatever, I don't know, but it made me appreciate those games a lot more. I mean, I didn't play that much of the original Mario Maker, so maybe this isn't a new revelation. Maybe this is something that people have known for a while now. But
I think it's important to bring up, though, because it's coming to so many more people now.
Right.
Mario Maker, because I never had a Wii U. So
yeah, exactly. Like, I borrowed a friend's Wii U, and I meant to play it, but I never did.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was one of the few proud Wii U owners, and I feel like Mario Maker 2, I mean, it definitely is building up off of what Mario Maker 1 did, but I feel like it's doing it a lot more successfully. It's added a whole lot of content. It's removed a lot of the things that people were not excited about with it. So I feel like it's, even though, the basic, core of it is still pretty similar, I feel like Mario Maker 2 is a really good addition for it, especially since so many people didn't play the first one.
Yeah,
I was kind of not on the fence about whether or not I wanted to buy this game, but I think you talked me into it, because I did play a good amount of the first one, and I was just like, it's that with more, but I think I'll end up playing it now.
Yeah,
there is a lot in this, in the single player content.
That's what I was going to say.
Big.
It's kind of, I mean, I think all of you are more platform, better at and more into platformers than I am typically. The only 2D platformers I really like are Mario. You could kind of I like Castlevania, Metroidvania games a lot, but those aren't really platformers in the same way. And I think the story mode is like fantastic for anyone who is not who's kind of like platform averse and who doesn't have a super deep relationship with Mario. Like I like Mario games, but I don't know if I've finished a Mario game since Super Mario 3. Like I don't typically finish those games. I don't know. Like if you told me like if you asked me how a clown car works before I played that level yesterday, I would not have been able to tell you anything. So like the cool thing about the story is that it switches between the different tile sets. The levels are not, by framing it the way that they do, of like you're going off on these jobs to get coins to rebuild the castle, they can just throw wildly different things at you. So there's no through line from the levels, which is great because what it does is it introduces you to the different mechanics and different elements. And it really feels like it's sort of giving you from a player's perspective, understanding of how everything works, so that then when you decide you want to go make levels, you aren't looking at a bunch of tools that you don't know how they operate. And it's really cool. And then on top of that, for someone like me who is not super great at platformers, it's nice because there's a lot of variety between some more puzzly levels, more adventure levels, and more like challenging platforming. And they're all so short that it doesn't feel like you're bashing your head against something for like just trying to get through the one thing for hours and hours. And you can always come back to them too, because you have a list of stuff you can do. So you can say, well, I'm not clicking with this level, and then go back to it later.
Yeah, I definitely have one level where I'm like, maybe I was tired and I'm just like, I'm not doing this anymore. And that is really nice.
It's really cool. And like you were saying, Alex, like I love the way that all the different tile sets look. They look so good. I've been playing it in handheld mostly. I'm not really like crazy. It's fine. I'm not crazy about the Switch's screen generally. It's just it's a tablet screen. Like it's whatever. But it's high definition enough that to play those Mario tile sets on it is like really, really fantastic looking.
Totally.
Which is super cool. I haven't played it docked yet, but when I do, I'm sure it'll look great on TV too. And it's not like this is the first time you've been able to play those kinds of those visuals in high definition, but it just is really nice. I also wish that underscores the fact that I really wish there was a like controller that had a good D-pad, because as it stands.
That's been like my one and only real problem with the game, is that it feels terrible to play on Joy-Cons, but I don't trust the Pro Controller enough to play it. So
I think I'm coming around to the like disconnected D-pad on the Joy-Cons. Like kind of forcing myself to sit down with Tetris 99 and play it like that has helped. So I wouldn't say that it's been like terrible, but I really do wish that they would put out like literally just take the components from like a Wii remote and stick them in a Joy-Con.
Sure.
Just give me the one.
You know, if they made like Pro Joy-Cons, that would be interesting, and I would actually be really into that.
Of course, everyone who has a Switch would.
Yeah, but one of the things that I was just thinking about with the story levels, and also that just like the entire thing that I think is really cool is I think that they've added a ton of content from Mario Maker 1, but one of the things I think is the particularly interesting are the various clear conditions. I don't know how much you've ran into these, but played levels with them so far, but I think they are possibly one of the most fun things ever. And I think this is like, if I'm not misremembering some past Mario game, like seems like the first time that it's been used like this.
Yeah. From what I can remember. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, and I don't think so, but there are certain ones that are hard but genuinely really fun. Like I was playing one of the levels where you can't jump at all. And I'm like, what am I doing? It just feels so unnatural and so unusual, since you're playing as Mario, whose literal main character ability is that he can jump. And then this game's like, nah.
Jumpman.
Don't do that.
You're not allowed to do it. And it's like this like interesting way to like rethink about Mario levels is with some of these clear conditions of, oh, you have to do that. Oh, it's not just about getting to the end. You have to go out of your way to actually collect coins too. I think that's really neat.
Another thing, though, that I'll say that I really like about it, kind of the opposite of that, in addition to, I mean, I love those clear conditions. I'm really excited to see how, I love the idea of like starting to build a level with a clear condition in mind, and then using that as like your inspiration point for building the level. Like it becomes then a puzzle of level design. How do I make something interesting where you don't jump, sort of thing. But the other thing that I love about this game is I am the sort that in most games, like this was one of my problems with Celeste. Eventually I kind of got over it, but I have a hard time leaving the strawberries alone because I feel like if I pass them up, and it's dumb because I probably will never play that game again. So like, I don't know why it was such a big deal to me, but in the back of my head, I was like, well, I'm already here. It was hard to get here. I don't want to leave the strawberry because the next time if I want to come and get it, I'm going to have to go through all that again. And so I would bash my head against it when I'm not good enough to get it. And I'm not really even that invested. What I love about Mario Maker is, with the exception of the clear conditions, it feels very much like, no, I just need to get to the end. Like, I don't feel the same, like I have to collect that 10 coin that's like sitting underneath the platform and I don't know how to get it. So I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes trying to figure it out. I just run past it because like, there's always opportunities to get more coins.
Right. You're at the point where you're like, oh, it's coins. So,
and there's nothing at the end that's like, oh, you only collected 38% of the coins. That's the thing that like, I think that's good for other types of games because 100%ing things gives things more life and like longevity. So I'm not saying that I don't like games where there's percentage meters and stuff, but it's very freeing in this game to just think of it as I need to finish the level. And that's the core thing. And if I miss some coins, whatever. I like that a lot. And then the other thing that I noticed, even beyond the clear conditions, there's a level that I loved where you have to get 4 keys in the story mode. And there's like 5 or 6 pipes you can go in that each have a key, and they all have different mechanics at play in them. And then right at the start of the area, you're given 3 tools. You get like a POW brick, a POW switch, and a like spring. And so it's like totally like a puzzle of how do I use these tools to get to the keys. And like the fact you can do stuff like that is so cool because it's so interesting and like puzzly versus what you would typically think of when you think of like a platformer or of Mario. So yeah, I'm pretty into it so far. I'll also say
that's one of the levels that I'm like, I'll get back to you because I think it's a really cool design, but I was just like playing it late last night and going, I'm too to like deal with this right now.
I will also say that I got up early yesterday to watch Patrick Klepek's Mario Maker Mornings, the first one he's doing back. He's a writer for Waypoint, and he used to do in between his time at Kotaku and Vice. He did Mario Maker morning streams where every morning he'd play some Mario Maker levels in Mario Maker 1. And another cool aspect of that game is the way that, in spite of Nintendo's poor management of it, it's able to foster a community is really, really cool. And it's been really cool to see so many people on Twitter that I follow like sharing out level codes and asking for feedback. And it's just cool that it's a game that can create a kind of like shared cooperative experience of trying to help everyone make their levels better. It's not necessarily a game that I'm interested in playing the multiplayer of much at all, but it is something that I want to like talk to people about and share codes with them and like try other people's levels and have them try mine, which is a really, really cool thing.
Well, and I think it's like, it's so interesting that there is just such a wide variety of stuff like that too. Like I'm not particularly interested in some of the multiplayer or that, but there's just I'm very, very excited to see all the content that people come up with out of this. And I think that there is enough tools there that we're going to get a lot of content for a very long time. Like this one level that I played that was kind of Kaizo-like. It was literally the first level somebody ever made, like a person in a Facebook group I'm in ever made, and it was really fun. So I'm just really excited to see like what more people come up with, and I'm very excited to watch the inevitable blind races that we have in the next GDQ for it. That is going to be like so much fun.
Yeah. And one of the things you brought up there is like, I think it's my one and only real criticism of the game is the fact that there's level codes.
Oh yeah. It's weird.
I think Nintendo's still kind of, they don't understand how the internet works exactly. So
yeah,
but I think like being able to see the top levels and stuff like that is still good. I just hope they bring back, what was it called? The website that they had that you could connect to your Wii U that you could search through and stuff. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I forgot what it was called. But
if they do that again, it'll be good.
I honestly kind of would hope that they would do that. I think that's a better solution than building those tools into the game, only because there's only like, if it was like I could follow specific creators and then I have a menu full of people that I'd have to scroll through and punch on to see like what that sounds like a nightmare too. So in some ways it's almost nice to separate. It's almost nice to me that the game is like, you can play top levels or you can put in a code, and then I can keep the codes in some kind of better storage system that I can
you can also
and reference.
You can also favorite creators and like levels. And I don't know if you can like search by the levels you've liked, but like I definitely started favoriting creators. Like I just found like you guys will all be interested. I found Dan Reichert in there.
Oh,
and I
dear.
played his first level. So
Uh-oh.
that was the ultimate thing. So Patrick was playing yesterday. He was playing on the review copy, so it wasn't connected to the live servers. And he decided to end the stream by requesting a like super hard level, and he got his own level that he had made, and he couldn't finish it.
Ouch.
It was very good.
That's my big thing, because I would love to be able to make a like super difficult Kaizo level, but I could not complete it. So, and you need to complete it to upload. So.
One thing that is nice is, like, let's say you're in one of the story levels and you're having a tough time, and they give you five lives, right? So if you lose like 2 or 3 lives, Luigi pops up and he's like, "Hey, I need a hand."
Oh my god!
Which
such a fucking troll.
It is annoying, but that mechanic is neat. Basically,
Yes.
you can push. I don't remember what the button is, but you can touch the touchscreen, and there's a area where you can basically spawn in some stuff. Like, do you need a mushroom? Here you go. You can spawn one in for yourself, or a star, or whatever. Like, it's basically just kind of a like lowercase a accessibility kind of thing, which is good.
Yeah. Even better is when you fail the level, Luigi pops up and he's like, "Do you want to give up? Do you want to try it again? Or do you want me to do it for you?"
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that. That's amazing.
Shut the fuck up. I'm going to do this level.
Yeah, he's such a dick. He's like, "I'll just do it for you."
That's amazing.
And I'm like, I kind of just want to see what the game does, but I want to complete the levels myself.
My hope, I haven't clicked it either. My hope is that what it does is it shows Luigi running the level for you.
I was wondering
ghost or whatever.
If they would do that, but then also it'd show like, it'd be like, Luigi finished it. Here are the coins.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's why I don't want to press it. Because I want to finish all these levels and be the person who does it, but I don't want Luigi to be like, "I did it."
Well, you can go back and do past levels, so maybe I'll try that. It's like load up a previous level and then fail it and have him do it.
You should do it on the very first level.
Luigi's like, "Are you okay?"
How did you fail this one? You're not ready for the rest of this game, are you?
Are you okay, man? It's gonna be okay. But
yeah, I like Mario Maker, man. I'm looking forward to playing more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting because I feel like there's like it's already so much content, and most people are just getting started making levels for it. So there's going to be a lot of more content.
The Nintendo is just like their release calendar is wild for the rest of the year, because like
Fire Emblem.
in a month Fire Emblem comes out, and then a month after that Astral Chain comes out.
Yep.
And then a month after that, I'm not sure what their September release is.
Is it Ex Machina? Not Ex, whatever it's called.
Maybe.
I don't remember when it comes out.
But anyway, like they have a stacked year for the rest of the year. Like I was looking at the list of games that I have left to pick up, because most of the games I was excited for have come out, and like they're pretty much all Switch games. The majority of them.
And
and it's me picking up Mario Maker, knowing, I'm picking up Fire Emblem immediately at launch.
Right? Yeah, like
and
in a month.
I'm interested in Astral Chain, and then obviously Pokemon. But like I paid full price for this Mario Maker, and I'm like, man, I would be paying full price for Fire Emblem Three Houses. And
that's right. That Pine game comes out in August. Yeah, Daemon X Machina comes out in September.
Yep. Dragon Quest, doesn't it?
Yep, Dragon Quest is end of September. And then Pokemon in November. And I feel like they had something for October too that I'm not seeing on this list. But they have a lot of stuff coming, which is really cool. Link's Awakening comes out at the end of September also.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for that.
So September is like a wild August, because like Astral Chain comes out on August 30th, Daemon X Machina comes out on September 13th, Link's Awakening comes out on September 20th.
Jesus Christ, Nintendo.
That's like 4 weeks, but like I'm going to purchase all of those games on the day that they come out. And then Dragon Quest comes out a week after Link's Awakening.
Nintendo, just let me set up a direct deposit from my work to you.
Seriously.
Like you're getting my money. It's like, man, Link's Awakening looks so good. I'm very excited.
I'm a little worried about the frame rate on it, but as long as they tighten that up, I'm there.
The aesthetic is super good. Nintendo's kind of been killing it lately. It's fun for me as a fan of my Switch to have just this wide variety of games for it. Maybe we'll finally stop people going, there's no games on Switch.
I think you could pretty safely say that.
Yeah, I don't know who's been saying that.
People are, I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know.
And Marvel Ultimate Alliance is coming out next month too.
Oh God, right. Sorry, what was that, Erica?
No, just that I feel like I still hear people saying that there's no games on Switch.
Okay, thank you. I've heard it.
They're just super wrong, I guess. Like, I'm definitely not saying you haven't heard it, but anyone who said that to me, I would just be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. So I'm actually next weekend going to be missing the podcast in large part because I'm going to be at a convention, and one of the panels I'm doing is a Nintendo Switch game panel, and I'm going to like, listen, there are so many games coming out for this console. Just like, if you haven't bought it yet, just there's so much.
And man, Cadence of Hyrule is still one of the coolest things.
I need to play more of it because it's so good.
But I mean, it's the coolest thing in terms of what Nintendo let the developers do with their property. Like, I mean, we were talking about that like when it was announced, but still, so cool.
And I know I'm still wary because they did a great job with that. I'm still like, Nintendo, be protective. As a fan of Warhammer and Star Wars, like, I've seen what happens when companies get a little looser with their IPs and sort of are like, and put a lot of trust in sort of unfounded developers. But as long as Nintendo can keep making smart choices about who they work with, it'll be cool to see more of that stuff. I would love to see them do that with some of their titles that they seem to have such a hard time. Like, I don't know that I need to see Pokemon, I think, is in like a good place, for example. I don't know that I necessarily need more of it from like weird directions, but something like Metroid that it seems like they can't figure out how to make a Metroid game internally. It would be really cool to see them hand that to a smaller studio that would be in a position to kind of be innovative and try something new.
I'm trying to think of what would be my dream crossover in terms of a Nintendo property that isn't really, isn't in the limelight so much. And I'm kind of falling into kind of like a Minecrafty Kirby game. That'd be
weird.
It would.
That would be very weird. Kirby's Air Ride 2.
I still think that Kirby Battle Royale could happen.
Oh my god. That would be amazing.
Yeah. It would be. Well, you mentioned Pokemon. I kind of would like Pokemon to bring some of their spin-offs back. Just because Pokemon
Pinball
has
2. Pokemon Pinball 2.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with having more pinball games. But like people like the Mystery Dungeon series. I got really into Pokemon Ranger back in the day for DS, and I don't know how they would transfer it to Switch, but
I definitely am. That's partly a personal bias because I got into like, I'm going to try all these Pokemon spinoff games, and I thought all of them were awful. So like I could not find a single Pokemon spinoff game other than Pokemon Stadium that I enjoyed.
I low-key love Pokemon Ranger. Like,
oh, and it's probably just me.
It's a weird game though, because it's literally you capture Pokemon by drawing circles around it.
I know. I
have played so much of that first Pokemon.
I spent like hundreds of dollars buying like Mystery Dungeon and Ranger and like on used copies of these games, like but like 10 different games, and tried them all, and just all of them, like returned all of them within a week.
Did you try Pokemon Coliseum?
Yeah, I don't like that game either.
Did you try the Pokemon trading card game on Game Boy Color?
Well, the Pokemon trading card game is good. I don't remember if I liked that iteration of it, but that probably followed a similar mold to the Yu-Gi-Oh games at the time, which were really fucking good. So
yeah, it was good.
Yeah, then I would believe that would be good. I'm not saying that
Pikachu did that as a bad game.
Did you try what?
Hey You Pikachu, which is a genuinely terrible game.
Oh, yeah, I owned Hey You Pikachu.
It's awful.
I did too.
I enjoyed it, but I was a child, so
yeah. I just have so many strong memories of childhood Allison just like yelling like, Pikachu, get carrot. And it's like, Pikachu. Like,
see,
yeah.
It came out at the perfect time for me where I was like obsessed with the idea of like a slice of life video games. So the idea of just like walking around with Pikachu without a real goal in mind was really appealing. But the game is bad. I'm not suggesting that's good.
It's a super appealing concept where you're like running around with Pikachu, having like fun adventures. You're going into the woods. You're making food. You're going fishing. Like there's so many. It's cute. But then you're just like yelling at Pikachu to try and smash a pinata, and you're like, "What am I doing with my life?"
I wasn't quite that existential.
This is me as like a 9-year-old kid going like, "What am I doing with my life?"
That's beautiful. I think with how good voice recognition has got, you could actually make a pretty good game out of something like that now.
I bet. Yeah, it's. I don't know. I don't know if you need to really make a Hey You Pikachu comeback, but
no, probably not.
But fun fact, Hey You Pikachu is one of the reasons I got deep into RPGs and Paper Mario, because one time I was sick and my parents were like, we're gonna write you a game from Blockbuster, which is like the oldest sentence ever said by a human, as a treat because you're sick. And I wanted Hey You Pikachu, but my backup choice was Paper Mario. And then I was like, but then they didn't have Hey You Pikachu, so I got Paper Mario and was like, this is a really good game, which it is.
What was I gonna say? I wanted to mention, I just saw this while we're on the subject of Pokemon, and then we can move on. Was that Masuda released a statement about the Pokédex thing.
Oh yeah, that was just yesterday.
Yeah. That like
I didn't hear it about
because
it
people are upset about the Pokédex thing, right? Like you can't have like that. It's just going to have Galar Pokemon. It's not going to have all the old ones, which is like just a perfect example of how people have no fucking idea how making video games work. Like, guess what? It's a lot of fucking work to model 800 and animate 800 Pokemon in a new game
and balance them.
Yeah. And one of my friends was like, it's fine. They can just take the models from this other game. And I was like, dog, that is not how it works. Yeah, you could just take the engine out of a Ford Fusion and put it in like a Toyota Tacoma. Sure, that'll work. Like that's not how it works. And like this statement from Masuda ends with, "We are pouring our hearts into these games, and we hope you will look forward to joining us on this new journey." And I think that's just a great way to say like, because the response was like, "We're not doing this thing that you want because it's impossible." Like, we cannot do this.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I can personally appreciate wanting to have every Pokemon in there, like that gut feeling.
Sure.
But we're also at the point where we're getting to the point where they're going to have to make this decision to do this sooner or later.
I mean, what are you
getting unsustainably large numbers of Pokemon?
Do you want a world where you get a Pokemon game on 3DS for the rest of your life that has new Pokemon in it and just has the same visual fidelity of Sun and Moon? And plenty of people say, yes, I want that. I will tap out. I'll be done with Pokemon. And that will be and they will not get new people in if that's what they want.
Honestly, if they did like another sprite-based Pokemon because they're like, this is what we could do, you fuckers, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But
no, it's fine. And I'm not saying that there's like anything like morally or like ethically wrong with doing that. It's just like the majority of people want to see the series evolve and grow into something like bigger and exciting and new. And if they don't take this step and say, we can't do this at launch, we cannot have this huge list of like when the new Doom comes out, people aren't like, well, how come it doesn't have every single level of Doom ever made? Like I understand that it's a precedent that they've set from the way that they've built those games in the past, but like I just think it's very, and this, I'm not saying this about you at all, Allison, because I understand the frustration people have about wanting to have the Pokemon in it. But the way that you take that out is you say, oh, that's disappointing. Well, I'll put them all in Pokemon Home. And I hope that in the future, they'll maybe add them via patches or something.
Right. And to be clear, I'm not particularly...
No, I know. Yeah.
Caring about it. But I feel like I can see why people might. Because you're just like, yeah, I want every Pokemon in this game. Like
totally.
The gut feeling of wanting that is totally understandable. Yes. But realizing that, these game devs are human and they've got limited resources, and it's really like, I mean, they're a big company for sure, but at the same time, it's like, do you really expect to we're just going to give up everything else just so that we can put all the Pokemon in one game? Like,
and this is what doing things like Fighting Crunch looks like. Like this is how you avoid that stuff. And like, I just think it shows like the people who are not the people who are saying, hey, I'm kind of disappointed about this. You have every right to be disappointed about the thing not being the way you wanted it to be. I totally get it. So I'm not trying to condemn anyone who has that feeling, but the people who are taking it out and saying like for example, I saw the post about the world champion. They had the Pokemon championships a few weeks ago, and everyone there was a tweet from the Pokemon company congratulating the new world champion, and all the replies were like, no one's going to play this game. No one's going to play Sword and Shield because of Dexit. Stop Dexit. Stop that. Like this person was being congratulated by Nintendo and the Pokemon company, and all anyone responded with was like, we hate you now, you're awful. And it's like, fuck off.
So dumb. Yeah.
Like this game looks incredibly good. Maybe just like say, oh, it's too bad they're not going to have all the Pokemon, and like stow it for a bit. I mean, it's really, really frustrating to me to see the way that to see how entitled a lot of these people are behaving, and how much they seem to lack the understanding that these are human beings making these games.
Yeah, and I feel like you can maybe like criticize Nintendo, criticize the Pokemon Company, like honestly, whatever. I think that's, you know, something that you can do. But the thing that kind of drives me over the edge personally is when they're like, I've seen people call like this game devs specifically lazy, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I'm like,
No.
don't bring the people who are working really hard on this game into this, because they are working really hard on this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
It's
honestly, for me, there's only one situation I can see that would be really good for having every single Pokemon and like having 800, 900 Pokemon. And that's if they finally drop the bomb and make an MMO. Because I think for one person playing a single player game, that's too many Pokemon. In an MMO, that sounds awesome.
I just don't. I've seen arguments from people, and again, I understand, but I've seen arguments from people who are like, well, I've had this Pokemon forever, and I want them with me for this journey. And it's like, look, I get it, and you have every right to be disappointed, but like, come on.
Yeah, I don't think there's any kind of excusing people.
Come on,
super dicks to the humans behind the games.
Yeah, like you want this Pokemon that this company created to be with you. You wouldn't even have these feelings if it weren't for the games that these people made. Not that the team has been the same for the past like 25 years or whatever, but still, it's infinitely frustrating to me when people can't like stop and just like accept that there are realities to developing video games that they don't understand. And like you clearly have like never scoped a project before. You've never done a budget before. You've never like managed a team before. If you think it's as easy as just like, well, just work harder, just make more of them, just do it. Why can't you? Like, it's gross to me. And it's kind of given me this, like, I have a weird, like, I hope they don't put all the Pokemon in it now because I have spite for those people.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited and I hope this game comes out and gets like 9s and 10s from critics just so that those people can be upset.
I mean, I just wanted to be good because I think it looks really good. But yeah, no, I agree. And I think that really, if we're getting to the point where we're adding so many Pokemon to each game, that I feel like this is an inevitable conclusion to, we're making new games. Every new mainline series game is going to have a lot of new Pokemon. It just increases the amount exponentially, especially as we're getting into these more complicated 3D games rather than just having sprites. But the thing that is very funny, and I think is maybe one of the best things that has come up for come from the issues people are having and the people whining about this, is that some people have said, oh, it would only take 5 minutes to model each Pokemon. And people are like, who know anything about 3D modeling, are like, no. But people have tried to model Pokemon in 5 minutes, and the results are hilarious. Yeah. They're very, very good. So, that's one of the good things that's come from this, because it's kind of hilarious.
And what I hope the result is that they slowly work through rebuilding the generations. I still think that it makes sense for them to do more Let's Go games as in-betweens between like major mainline series games. And that would give them the opportunity to kind of bring new models into the, like, it's a weird thing to think about, like what the long-term plan for Nintendo looks like. Cause that starts getting into like, well, that would mean like 10 years from now, Gen 7 would come out or whatever, or more.
Weird. Yeah.
So like, I get that that's kind of it's weird to think of those timelines, but like, I don't get the impression that Nintendo is really like looking to like have some other huge overhaul in visuals anytime in the near future. Like that seems like they're pretty happy with what the Switch puts out, and people are pretty happy with what the Switch puts out as long as the games are like optimized for it. So I don't know. It's a conundrum, but that game looks good.
Yeah, Mario Maker 2 is real good.
Mm-hmm.
Exit is about the dumbest name I've ever heard.
That's true.
It's very, very bad.
All right. Well, the other thing I had to talk about, now that we spent, what was that, 45 minutes on Mario Maker? Which is good.
Yeah. I love that we just went on this like long Pokemon tangent. But, you know, I am always up for a long Pokemon tangent. Like,
I know you are. That's if there's one thing I know about Allison, it's that we can go on Pokemon tangents for hours. So I got one last thing to talk about, y'all.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Sorry if you're listening to the audio of the actual podcast. We started listening to it before we watched it. There's this show that came out a couple of years ago, we'll say maybe closer to 20 years ago, called Neon Genesis Evangelion. And we have talked about this show on this very podcast several times. It recently came out again for wider viewing on Netflix, which is nice because, oh God, for however many years, you couldn't watch it anywhere without it costing you an arm and a leg or pirating it. So it being available widely on a fairly mainstream platform is a big deal. And I figured this would be a good time to watch it again, because the first time I originally watched it was 10-ish years ago. I was like 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there. And as you dear podcast listener / co-hosts are aware, I'm not too hot on that show. The show itself is pretty revered in the anime community and generally considered both one of the best and most influential of all time. I personally have not held it in the highest of regard. I would say that I fucking hated it. That's if I were to put it lightly. I don't know. At least actively disliked it. I don't know if hated it. I don't know if it's that strong, but whatever. So yeah, with the Netflix release, I figured this would be a good time to revisit it as ostensibly an adult and see if my original feelings held up or if they'd kind of changed with age. So like I thought, well, I don't know, maybe, you know, all these people I like talk about how amazing it is, and it is revered. It's influenced a lot of stuff I really love. Maybe my dislike for it came down to it being, you know, a maturity thing. Maybe I was too young to appreciate what it was going for with like depictions of mental health, and you know, it touches on some tones that were pretty new at the time, especially for when it came out early to mid 90s. So I made an explicit point to just watch the show, not think about the movie End of Evangelion or any of the specials, purely just episodes 1 through 26 that were released on Netflix. And also did not watch the now seemingly controversial Netflix dub. Because apparently that has its whole own set of problems. Didn't care. I watched the original in Japanese. That's what I watched it again this way. So there's my caveats.
Well, but you watched with subs, right?
Correct. Which were changed.
Yeah, I think it's more the translation than the dub that people have a problem with. That's what I've gathered anyway. Yeah,
but like I understand enough Japanese that I could follow what they were saying without needing to wholly rely on the subs.
Makes sense.
But yeah, like there's some stuff that obviously changed and whatever. Like we don't have to get into that. So I'm going to get somewhat detailed about my feelings, but not going to give any spoilers at all. I know Pat, Allison, Erica, and Sam are all watching it. I don't think Andre is. And we might look at doing a spoiler cast at some point, maybe in a few weeks, maybe never, who knows. So I would save the more detailed feelings until we actually did something like that. But since it's super fresh in my mind and also fresh on Netflix, this seemed like a good time to talk about it. All right. Y'all ready for this? The original opinion that I had was that the show had a really strong first half, if not like first 2/3, but that it ruins everything it set up with its last stretch, like that last third, last quarter, whatever. Like I thought, yep, it fucks it up real bad at the end. So I will say now, having watched it again, the first 3 quarters are pretty great, if not excellent. I think that part of my opinion has held up. I think the animation quality is super high, especially for something that came out of the 90s. The storytelling is good. The characters they build are fairly unique, even if I personally don't really like them. Like, I think they're nuanced, and I think like the designs and like the kind of tropes they set up have transcended, and like, you know, like so many shows, and not just anime, like I think shows in general have like used it as inspiration, so that's awesome. And I think the stories they tell are cool, blah 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 blah, but I think up until episode 21 is where I super enjoyed the show, even when I was younger, and that wholly held up. I still really enjoy it. And then episode 22 to the end is where I had problems with my original viewing 10 years ago. So Netflix made some changes to the last 5 or 6 episodes, and I'm not talking about the translation. There were some specials that came out in the years after the show released, like it originally aired, that filled in some backstories for major characters that weren't there in the original episodes. And they've actually kind of incorporated those into these episodes. So those episodes in particular are like 28 minutes instead of 22 or something like that. And there was definitely scenes there that I didn't remember from my first watch through, and they were good. I'm glad they were there because they flesh out those characters a lot more and gives more context and made the arcs feel less fucking awful. It just felt super rushed in the original, like without those kind of, I don't know if you want to call them edits or inclusions. Like it felt really rushed, and it was like trying to explain all these character motivations and stuff to you, just like throwing them at you and vomiting them at you in a giant fire hose, and you're just like, okay, whoa, what? The pace has been so slow up until now, what? So that being said, I think my opinion now on the last quarter, the last 5 or 6 episodes, is just as strong now as it was then, if not stronger. I think it absolutely fails in its last quarter, like just fails.
And like, enough to overwrite your feelings on the first 3 quarters of
Yes, I think the last quarter ruins the first 3 quarters. And without delving into spoilers, like, it mishandles everything that it spends so much time meticulously setting up. Like all those interesting characters and plot lines, and like, if you think about spinning plates as an analogy, right? They have all these plates that are spinning, and they're doing really well with it and keeping them moving. Like there's a couple that wobble here and there, but nothing falls. There's moments that you're like, whatever. They kind of, they stuck the landing ish. But by the last 4 or 5 episodes, they bring you into a separate room and then never make mention of the plates again. Like, for all intents and purposes, everything they set up, set it aside, doesn't matter, then it ends. And it fails just colossally. The writing gets so bad, and it just gets so far up its own ass and so pretentious that it's just eye-rollingly bad. Like, it's terrible. And the last 2 episodes, episode 25 and 26 in particular, just awful. Like I think those 2 episodes are why I dislike the show so heavily. Like it does everything so right for so long, and then it just whiffs. Like Cheska and I watched the just one sec. But Cheska and I watched the show together, just because like she had a similar experience to me, but she liked the show when she was younger. But she also watched it like 10 years ago. We finished watching it together, and we talked about just those last 2 episodes for like an hour last night. Like, and how it just fails in wrapping things up in a satisfying way. Like, I don't care about the ending being good or bad in terms of how they treat Shinji. Like, it could be the worst possible ending in terms of how, like, it ends for him. That's fine. But they just make the ending so bad in what serves the story. Like, it's just so disappointing. And I think that's why, like, my opinion is still, like, if I was rating it on a 10 point scale, it would be like an 8 up until episode 21. And then I easily bring it down to a 2 or 3 by the end.
It's the thing that I think is interesting. Then this is why I'm excited to get through it and finish it and see how I feel about it. I suspect I'll probably like it quite a bit because all of the stuff that you're saying about it actually sounds like things I enjoy, because I like it when things say do you know how you've liked all of this? Fuck you. And then like totally throw it up, like upturn everything. I actually find that very satisfying for some reason. But more than that, what I'm very excited to like see is you are the only person whose opinion I like and respect, both about like media and like who I think is like a like really great person who I admire a lot, who has this opinion. Everyone else that I've ever heard with this opinion is a fucking asshole. They're like the like death threats, shitty, like sending letters to Hideki Anno's house and stuff like that. So it's interesting to me that like I always kind of assumed that like the like I hate Eva thing was more of a like sort of a similar thing to like the hating the Last Jedi thing, where it's like, okay, so something must happen near the end that just like upset a bunch of like kind of shittier nerds. But the fact that you feel this way tells me that that can't be it, because you're not that kind of person. So I'm so interested to see the ending of it, to understand like where those feelings come from. I'm not even like primed to agree or disagree with you, because I don't remember anything. Like I think I watched it until around episode 15 when I was younger and then fell off. I've talked about it with you all privately, but like when I was in high school and I watched it, I was under the impression, I think, that it was like one of those shows that has hundreds of episodes, because all the anime I had watched was like that. It was like the only one that I had seen that wasn't like that was Standalone Complex. And that one was one that I lamented the lack of more episodes at the time, because I love one of the few people who love Standalone Complex. But so I didn't keep watching it because I was like, well, this is good, but like I'm never going to be able to keep up with it and finish it. So I also didn't remember anything about, other than like what Eva 1 looks like. I didn't remember anything about the show. So I'm enjoying it. My partner and I are 7 episodes in, but this is still the part that you say is really good. So I certainly have no like, if it continues in the quality that it's at, then that's great. And if there is a point where everything goes fucking sideways, that's something that I will probably enjoy. Because I'm not very concerned with like narrative congruity, I guess. Like I've never been one who cares. Like I love when stuff gets weird and goes all over the place.
You loved Mother?
I actually didn't see Mother. I probably should.
It's a movie.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that, Allison.
Yep.
I don't really have a lot of interest in seeing it because of the themes. They're just not really.
That's fair.
It seems traumatic in a way that I'm just not really interested in engaging with. But to be clear, I enjoy when things do that, but I don't think that things do it well always. So I'm not saying that like if it's bad, and I want to make sure that like subjectivity is important. So like there is a world in which we can both be right. There's a world in which I can come away really liking it and you come away really hating it, and we can both be right. But if it's bad in a way that I find bad, then I won't like it. Like there's plenty of media that has done that thing where it's created something really weird and subversive, and I have not liked it too. So just because it's like that, it just makes me more interested to see it. It's not that I assume I'll like it.
Yeah, and I think it is worth seeing. Like I should say, I respect Evangelion because it has been so extremely influential for shows that I really love. Like, like even Gurren Lagann, which is made by the same team, I love like a zillion times more, because I think it actually, like Gurren Lagann actually ends up hitting a lot of similar themes, and it's also a mecha anime, and I think it does significantly better than Eva, but it's more comedy. And other shows like Madoka Magica, like that one's a huge one that's directly influenced by Eva. Like I kind of view it as Eva's the Beatles for me, and I'm not a huge Beatles fan, though I wouldn't say I actively hate them or anything. Sure. And then like everything else is stuff that's influenced by the Beatles.
I definitely think if this show came out today, and we were watching it for as a new show, I would be much less impressed by it, because so much of what it does feels like, obviously since it influenced so much, like obviously having not remembered any of it, I was like, oh, so Attack on Titan really is just this show, but like new.
Yeah. I mean, it's inspired a ton of stuff. So
yeah. But we'll maybe talk more about that. I'm still kind of wary about doing a spoiler cast just because it seems like every single podcast on the internet is doing a spoiler cast. But at the same time, if we have thoughts in a few weeks, I also like talking to everyone about those thoughts. So
if not a spoiler cast, at least we can put up a warning marker and be like, hey, we're going to talk explicitly about stuff. Make sure
it's 20 an episode minutes. Where we get Sam on and whoever else has watched it.
Yeah, I'd be interested in your guys' feelings once you finish it, even if it's just in the chat. So
I will say that very briefly before we move on, and I don't want to take this down a rabbit hole, but I do think that the show is doing very interesting things with fan service and the way that it portrays its women in a sense that I think it like has so far dropped the ball intensely in some places and been very, very good in other places. I think it's like got a lot of really smart things to say about boyhood masculinity and like how young men view women. Like,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. When you said young men, all I could think was YMCA, just young men.
Okay. Anyway, like there's some very interesting things there. And then there's also parts that are just like, fucking come on.
Yeah.
So that has been interesting to me to watch because that's one of my primary stumbling blocks for getting into anime in general is I feel like every single anime I watch, it's like I get, and even ones that people don't think this is an issue in, I'm definitely touchy about it. I get like 10 episodes in and then like there's a boob shot where I'm like, all right, I'm done. Fuck you. This is clearly, if this is the direction we're going, I don't have any fucking interest. And I think Eva's kind of seesawed a little bit in a way that I actually find very interesting. And I don't know if I think it definitely doesn't handle everything well, but it handles certain things so much better than other shows that I've seen that I think it's interesting.
I think it's kind of weird sometimes with like, I mean, obviously I'm not very far into it, but at least from like the first 2 episodes or so, like it feels pervy, but then it's not. Like
it feels like it with intent. Like it feels like it's trying to show, like it gives you an angle on like Misato, and then it uses that angle to be like, well, you're supposed to be turned on by this, but Shinji isn't. And that's what's interesting is the ways that those are the parts I think it does fairly well, is like it is doing more service as a concept is like something that doesn't advance, that doesn't do any storytelling. It's only there to like titillate. And in this case, I think it uses that concept to actually say something about the characters, which I find fascinating. And I like that. There's some stuff we'll get into later on when we talk about it, though, that even in the first 7 episodes where I was watching it like, are you fucking kidding me? And were it not for some of those interesting establishing things that it does with the concept, like if those hadn't happened and this scene that I'm thinking of had happened, I would have been like, this is not for me. But it's interesting.
I think I'd be interested in hearing your feelings specifically on Misato by the ending, because her arc goes in interesting places. I think Misato is probably the best character in that show.
She's my favorite so far.
End. Yeah, sure. I think she holds up straight most of the end. And like,
what's funny is Erica, she was my least favorite character in the first 2 episodes. First 2 episodes, I was like, oh, I hate this person. But now by episode 7, she is like far and away my favorite.
But the thing I was interested in was talking about fan service and all that kind of stuff. And there's actually a talk with Andre. I'd be interested in your feelings on Kill la Kill, even though I know it would be a hard watch for you for the first half.
I don't know if I can do it, but we'll see.
So if I can spoil it a little bit, Kill la Kill ends up subverting the whole fan service culture as a part of its main story by the end. Like its whole story is a critique on that culture as a whole, and it uses like the fan servicey elements as a way to kind of like exaggerate it and then pull you in and then say, yeah, fuck all these people.
Which on the one hand I think sounds really cool. On the other hand, the thing I can't get away from, like, because I saw that you and Andre talking about that, and I have some respect for that, but on the other hand, it's also like, yeah, but if you create 20 episodes of jack off material and then on episode 21 say, haha, gotcha. It's like, I don't know that I think that's like
It's definitely not. It's not quite like that, but yeah, it's.
Yeah, no,
I think it's.
not,
I think it's really good.
I feel like it's something where.
Feeling, though.
Yeah, I feel like it's something where the execution would have to be perfect to pull that off, and I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on like how the execution was. But I feel like it's a very fine line of, oh, we're just going to excuse the fact that we put all this fan service in there, versus actually telling something interesting. And I haven't seen it, so I have no idea if it does or not.
It should be noted that it's made by the same people who made Evangelion. So
interesting. I definitely trust your opinion that it does do right by the end too. To be clear, like there's no, there's no doubt in my mind that it probably plays with those themes in very interesting ways. I haven't watched the series at all, but I've seen like stills and visuals from it, and it's like to the point where like I don't like if Dead or Alive like by the end of the game said something about physics that was like profound and had to do with quantum mechanics, it wouldn't justify the fact that like, that game was made so that you can fight with ladies whose boobs jiggle a lot.
Yep, I would agree with that completely.
But what this truly says about quantum mechanics is...
but that said, I'm still interested to know. So even if I can't like find it in me to watch through it, I do want to like, I don't know, if you and Andre end up talking about it or something, I'm interested in that, hearing that conversation, because I still find the concept very interesting as like a central thing that has made it harder for me to get into anime in general. That's something that I am definitely really interested in. And obviously I know there's plenty of, I want to be careful too, because Western media is like, so much of it is wholly based around selling sex and objectifying women in the same way. So I don't like the way that some people like take this out on anime specifically. I truly think that like we're just very desensitized to it in Western media, so we don't see it as much in the media that we consume, and it's as much a problem here as it is in like Japanese storytelling. So I want to be careful of not seem like I'm just bashing anime, because I don't think that's fair or right.
Yeah. I think that there is, I mean, that is a big part of why I haven't been as into anime as I used to be, mostly because I'd be watching something that's like billed as like wholesome and comedic, and then suddenly you'd see some panty shots and you're like, why are you putting this in there?
Yeah, there's the show about the game, the slice of life show about the like game developer that's all like women. And at first I really liked that show, and then it very like out of nowhere went in that direction. And it was just like, that was the last one I like newer anime that I really tried and then was disappointed by, because it just did the same thing.
Y'all should watch Laid Back Camp. That has no fan service, and it is just a warm hot chocolate on a cold day.
Yeah. And I should.
Yeah,
because there's tons of anime like that too. So that's part of also why I don't want to like condemn the genre or like the medium, because there's plenty there. That's kind of my point, is like you can find tons of Western comic books that have shitty portrayals of women in them, and then there's also hundreds of them that are great. So like sure. That's true of like virtually every medium that exists. So it just so happens that because anime is such a specific thing stylistically, that it seems more prevalent there, I think, to a lot of people, when really it's something we're inundated with in our media across all kinds of different types and genres and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. But regardless, anyway. Evangelion, not into it. I'm interested in your guys' opinions. Watch Laid Back Camp and A Place Further in the Universe instead.
Okay,
right.
That's
all for me.
Pat, watch A Place Further Than the Universe. I love, like, that was a rec from Alex, and I love that show so much. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm usually not as into slice of life stuff, but I do really like Yuri on Ice. So
it gets like super emotional.
Yeah,
and you're just
oh my God.
Power of friendship, and I'm like crying at the end, and they're in Antarctica, and I'm like, do I want to go to Antarctica? Which the answer is no. But like,
no, my answer is totally yes. Did I ever tell you all? I applied for a job to be a janitor at an Antarctic research station.
That's so cool.
The job paid $120,000 a year because it's a janitor at a fucking Antarctic research station.
That's cool.
Dang,
You had
I'd
to
want
go there. It was like a 3-year contract, so you had to live there for 3 years. But I was like, I was getting out of college, and I was like, I could totally just go down there, be a janitor for 3 years, and then make bank, because you don't have to spend any money while you live there either, because everything's like paid, expenses are all paid and stuff. Anyway, long story short, didn't get the job. I wish I had. That would have been fucking rad.
But
yeah, Place Further the Universe is beautiful. And
my last comment on that. The email scene is still one that I think about. It's so fucking good. Anyways, let's continue.
Oh my god. Anyways, continuing from our anime chat.
Coming soon, not necessarily coming soon.
Emotional over anime girls. Next, let's go to Erica.
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Good sedge.
Okay. So on I don't like, speaking of fan service, BTS World.
It sounds like BTS World does some real narrative heavy lifting that gives you more story and insight on those good boys.
It's something. Sorry.
That was the best transition. Well done.
So, like, BTS World. Okay, so I'll say I was expecting it to be a lot worse than it is. Like, it's not wonderful. It's not,
all right. Downloading now.
It's not.
Hyped up for this game.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, hyped up for this game. It's not as terrible as he thought.
Yeah, it's like I was expecting it to kind of be a lot cringier than it is. It's definitely cringy. Like there are parts of it where I'm just like, oh god, really? Like, but like it's one of those things where if you don't care about BTS, please don't play this game. Okay. But if you super love BTS, like it's cute and it's fine. Like if you're, a middle schooler, I guess.
This would be the perfect game. It sounds like just from the title of your own podcast. Tempered expectations.
Yes. But all right. So basically, the premise is that you start out by winning tickets to a BTS concert through an app, and then all of a sudden on your BTS concert ticket, like, and on different advertisements for BTS stuff, the members just start like turning into dust, like Avengers, like Infinity War style. So it's weird. And then you get transported into 2012, which is 1 year before BTS's debut. And you wake up with like, you don't know. I mean, you have recollection of what happened, but like, you're like, what the fuck, right? So like, you're like, where's BTS? Why does my concert ticket have no pictures anymore? Like, and you have like, you go to like RM, who is the leader slash, one of the main rappers of the group. And you go to like his solo show because he's like an underground rapper, I guess. Like, which is how he started. I'm not gonna say like there's some like true to life-ish elements. Like there are some bits like they used his old rapper name in the thing, and like they used J-Hope's like street dancing name back when he was doing that, and like there's some elements that are true, but like you end up going up to RM and you're just like, hey, can I have your autograph? And he's like, what the fuck? Like,
he's like, why?
And like, you go rummaging in your bag, I guess, to find a piece of paper and a pen, and you accidentally pull out a contract because you work for Big Hit as a manager, but you didn't know all of this.
My contract slipped.
Yeah. He's like, wait a minute, I signed this like, yesterday. Are we still good? And you're just like, oh, what?
No, we're not. You're being dropped.
Like, you just like, and not only that, but like, I would super not trust manager me in this like scenario because I have no idea what's going on. And anytime any of the members asks me a question, I'm just like, what? So, and a lot of it is also a little weirdly flirty, which I guess is what you should expect from this.
That feels weird in a game about real people, though.
Right.
I don't like that.
So it's like, okay, like when you meet Suga for the first time, you like accidentally, I don't know, he drops like a flower pot or whatever, and I guess you save him and you've like knocked him out of the way, but then you're bleeding and he like touches your arm and you can feel his warmth. And it's just like, it's a little yucky.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like BTS already has like too much of that with their fans. And this is just like, this is fan service. Like,
yeah, that's weird.
Encourage the fans who are like, yes, of course, this is totally something that we should do.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, it's the story. I don't know. I'm gonna keep playing it. I kind of want to see like where it's gonna go, but which I guess says something about me also. Like,
Yeah,
that I'm gonna keep playing this. But I don't know. Like, it's fan servicey. Also, the visuals are nice. Like, if you're like, I'm not blind, right? So like, I'm not gonna say like.
I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with appreciating the visuals. It's more creepy.
Yeah, don't
characters are flirting with you.
Yeah, so I don't know. You gotta like you level up like their affinity towards you and stuff, which is a little strange. It's a little
a good time to bring up that AKB48 had multiple dating sims, which was a little bit creepy.
So, and I guess like to clarify, like if someone wanted to make like, I don't know, if someone, I wouldn't really be comfortable with it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with if someone is genuinely like, hey, I don't mind being a character in a dating sim. I think that'd be fun for people to be able to like flirt with me, with digital me. Fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't really have confidence in the K-pop industry that all of them were totally on board with this or even consulted about it before.
They were definitely at least somewhat consulted because there's a lot of voice acting done by them. Like, there's shots made specifically for this. So I think they knew what they were getting into, but whether or not they had a choice in the matter
exactly. Yeah. That's the thing I wonder about is like, I don't know that I trust that they wanted to be involved, especially given some of the footage I've seen of them being accosted by people.
Yeah.
Where they look very not into it and not on board.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I don't know. As far as the game goes, like it's a free to play game. It's not, at least so far. I'm not extremely far into it. I'm still in the first chapter, but I'm like almost done with like all the levels of it. I think there's about 20 levels in the first chapter, but also they're not full levels. Like some of them are like, long narrative things. Like I'm interacting with a member. I'm trying to get him to sign whatever. And then there's also like tasks where you like put in your cards, and then like if you have enough like empathy and charisma or whatever, like you can like you'll succeed in explaining to J-Hope about his trainee schedule. Like, so it's just there's both of those parts, and each of those tasks requires like currency, which in this case are wings, and I think you can they recharge, like you get one every 6 minutes, but you can also, like, if you have friends that can send you stuff. I haven't messed around with that yet, but I will. But it seems like the free to play things are not especially egregious. Like you can spend money in this thing, but as far as I have seen, it doesn't look like you have to, or you need to in order to have, I was going to say have a good experience, but you know, to play this game fully.
At any point, do you have to leave them like in a tangle of vines being pulled apart for hours while you wait for your energy to recharge?
Watch your teleport so you get strangled for 2 hours until your energy recharges.
Not yet. I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated. Like and the other thing too is just like it's a little weirdly paced. Like when I was getting on the podcast, I had already been talking to Jimin on a phone call like for a while, and I was just like, oh, I need a minute. I gotta like finish this. And it took like way too long. And then as soon as we hung up, he immediately texted me, and then I had to like respond to that too. And so I don't know. It's a lot. I'm going to keep playing it. I kind of want to see where the story ends up. I want to see how creepy it gets, because I'm
No, I'm interested.
I'm interested. I want to know what they're going to let fans do here. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Like and like if you care a lot about like I guess the visual side of BTS, like they have 5-star photo cards and you can use like those cards have better stats, but they also like animate and you can download them so they're high quality on your phone. And it's just like it's something that I'm sure somebody really cares about, but it's not me. I'm not the one, you know. But it's cute. It's okay. I want to see where it goes.
Cool.
Don't download this game. Unless you super care about BTS. But they also released like a new song with it. And I was wondering like how long they've been sitting on this song too, because this game was supposed to come out like last year, and then it got delayed by like a year, and then it got delayed by like a couple of months, and then it got delayed by like a few weeks, and then like by like an hour. It was just like a lot. Just they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So I don't know how long ago this song was even recorded, but they released it when they released the game, and the song's actually really good. I like it a lot. I tend to like BTS's ballads, and this is one of those. So it's telling me that once I get to chapter 1-14, then it will play in my lobby instead. So that's my next one. So I'm hoping to get there now.
Sounds good. Very good. I can't say I'll download it, but
don't download it, Allison, please.
I look forward to hearing about the creepiest parts in our Game of the Year Best Moment discussions.
Oh, absolutely.
I am not interested. We should have a worst moment category.
Well, I'm honestly, I don't want to download it, but I want to hear all about it from you.
Totally. Yes.
I will absolutely
give us updates, because
as of now, I have signed all 7 of the members as big hit trainees. And last I was talking to Jimin, very upset because he's overtraining, which is also true to life, but it's like, I don't know.
So this makes total sense to me, because you like professional wrestling, and this has a certain amount of professional wrestling to it with what you're describing.
And like, okay, so like, yeah, okay. So I feel like it's kind of a thing. Like I'm in K-pop, I think they're more of like concepts than gimmicks. But yeah, like everybody kind of has like okay, you know, when you're talking about Jin, that Jin kind of has like an ego about him. He knows he's very good looking, and just like not in like a fun way, not like in a this dude's a huge douche kind of way.
No. Yeah. That's
it's cute. It's funny. And Suga is kind of like a little standoffish at first, and like whatever. And that Jimin is like a little insecure, and like J-Hope's the happy one. It's just whatever. So it's definitely like some of the criticisms I saw of the game is that it plays like really hard into that, but like what do you expect? Like I don't know, like that's what it is, like that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they didn't play that up, people would be like, well, they're like, why are we playing with these characters anyways, or like why are we
sure
like, yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of need to play up their persona too.
Yeah. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that
Persona
part
too.
anyway. I'm also like, I saw some criticisms that like I watched one video this morning of like somebody who really did not like the game on YouTube, and she was like upset about weird stuff. Like she was like really upset about how they romanized their names, that like it was not like the way you normally see it, but like I've seen it romanized that way in, you know, official BTS stuff, like the documentary movie that last year, or was that last year or was that this year? I don't know, whatever. Their documentary movie or whatever, it was romanized the same way. Like it's not like, it's fine. It's fine. You know who they're talking about. It's going to be okay. If they say Yoon Ki instead of Yoongi, it's going to be all right. Like, so, but, and then she was also, I think, a little bit more affected by the cringe. But I think if you have any kind of tolerance for reading not great fan fiction, it's going to be okay. Like, it's that.
Man, maybe I should play this because it's like my entire life has been leading up to this moment, building up that tolerance of bad fan fiction.
Like it's definitely like it's a Your Name simulator, honestly. Like it's like it really is. Like it's just I'm curious to see how far they're gonna go with it in terms of like, are you gonna start dating the members? Are you like, do you have to pick a member to really focus your flirtations on, or are you just equally flirty with everybody?
But maybe like, you'll be a member.
So, maybe. Like I doubt it. There's not a lot of like co-ed groups, and that's also like another criticism I saw is that there's only one character to play as, and she's a woman, and some people are not very excited that they have to play as a woman, I guess. But, you know, whatever. I'm a woman, so I didn't find an issue with it. But I can see how you could be disappointed by that. Sure. So BTS World, I'll give you an update.
I will look forward to those updates because I just want to know what this game is, even though I really don't want to play it.
Yeah, don't play this game, Allison. Like, I feel like you're at the highest risk of downloading this game.
I am
on here.
I am. No, I am.
Do it to yourself, please.
Like I'm not like a serious BTS fan, but I'm casually into them now, and yeah, I don't think I need to download it, but yeah. I want to hear from you.
Yeah. So far, I've found J-Hope the most charming.
I mean, he's my fave, so like
he's like not my favorite, and I really truly love all of them. Like I really can't say that I hate any of them, but I consider him lower on my list if I had to rank them, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like this is like bias wrecking me on him a little bit. I don't know. We're gonna see.
This is gonna like change everything for you.
So I don't know. And actually, Jimin has been my least favorite so far, and he's my bias in BTS. But it's like a lot of me just like being like, "Hey, Jimin, maybe don't kill yourself by like working, like you training like all night long instead of sleeping." And then he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna do it anyway." I'm like, "All right, fine then, I guess." But like, my character just wants to keep begging him not to, and I'm just like, just let him do it. Fuck. There's not a lot of dialogue choices.
All right, Pat, we talked a bit about Mario Maker, but what else do you have to bring today?
All right, so I know that everyone is excited about the hot tentacle action.
Oh God!
Found in the Sinking City, the new game from Frogwares. No, there's no weird sex stuff so far.
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah.
Well, that's a complicated subject. Yeah, there is no real explicit. That's not true either. Lovecraft's work is not particularly sexual. There are elements of some of his nihilistic misogyny present in his work, but it's not done in the sense of like sexualizing anyone in the same way. Anyway, I don't want to say there's none of that because I can't remember the all of his works. There may be something in there that I'm forgetting. Anyway, The Sinking City is a new game from Frogwares Interactive, or I always say Frogwares Interactive, but I think they're called Frogwares Game Development Studio. But makers of the long-standing Sherlock Holmes series of video games, which have always been nothing if not consistent. They're not like mind-blowing adventure games, but they've always been solid. And generally well made. Sinking City is kind of feels like the culmination of all the stuff they've been working on for that franchise, trying to take it and then taking it into a new direction. It is, and it's a really fascinating thing. I've played a lot of Lovecraft-inspired video games. It should go without saying at this point that like Lovecraft himself was a horrible, virulent, racist, bigot, awful human being. And his worldview extends to his themes. For me, it has always been his work is exemplary of a really nihilistic and misanthropic worldview that includes horrible bigotry to specific groups of people. Part of the reason that I have always been able to enjoy his writing is because of not separating that from it, but more viewing like understanding his worldview as being this horrible, wrong thing, and then seeing how that is portrayed in his writing is important. But then also I think his writing is generally very good horror, even if those themes are shitty. And I actually also think that those themes are not as, when you actually read his work, they're often on the margins. It's often things like a character will make an offhand remark or something. So it's less that the central theme, some of his stories, the central theme is in like Shadow over Innsmouth, for example, is definitely directly putting his bigotry on display. But what is interesting about a lot of works, video games in particular, that attempt to use his tropes and concepts are that they tend to whitewash those elements. Like, for example, the game that came out last year, Call of Cthulhu, based on the Chaosium pen and paper RPG, which is not a very good game. The pen and paper game is great. The video game was not very good. It didn't touch on any of that stuff. Like, it just didn't even consider any of those things. There was no, like, the characters are all pretty much just like white people, and there's not really any racism present in in the game's text or subtext, really. It's just trying to tell a story about like alien god monsters, which is fine. I think it's important to, if you're directly working with his themes, you really do need to acknowledge, though, what the awful stuff in there is. I think there's a lot of stuff that has been kind of inspired by his aesthetic that I don't know that I'm one of those, that I'm the type of person that thinks that you can't use his aesthetics and some of his concepts without referring to the source material. I think it's fine to have like squid monsters in your work and have it not need to be a commentary on race. But one thing that the Sinking City does very interestingly is it is attempting to kind of look at those concepts and like put a spotlight on them. And I think it handles some of that in interesting ways. Like, I'm not that far into it, but it very clearly indicates that like there is conflict between the different factions in the city based on their heritage and race. Like, you have fish people, you have these like kind of more ape-like people, which the ape-like people are not caricatures. They're actually not what you would. When I first heard that like there's these ape people, I was like, I don't know about this, but they're designed to represent aristocracy not a particular ethnic, like real ethnic group at all. And what I think is interesting so far is I haven't really seen the game in the lead up made a lot of points to say that it's portraying a like socially realistic 1920s America where like the real racism that was present in this country and the world is on display. I haven't really seen that so much. There's a lot of people of color in the game as characters just around, and I haven't really seen any racism directed towards them from anyone, but that maybe just hasn't surfaced yet. I don't know. It also may have to do with the setting of the game, which is one of the things that I think is really interesting. So instead of the game makes lots of references to real parts of Lovecraft's lore, but it is set in a place called Oakmont, Massachusetts, which is a totally entirely made up location for this game. And it is called the Sinking City because the city is flooding and it's like half underwater. So you're kind of navigating the city using a boat at times. And then at times you're like running around, and it is largely like an open world, which is pretty cool. It feels they apparently the Frogwares looked to the way that Ubisoft developed Assassin's Creed to try to build this city, in that Assassin's Creed was developed with some a mix of procedural and handcrafted city blocks and stuff. So I don't know which games in the series they're really referring to, but it does kind of have, it's a huge city in the Sinking City. Some of it is a little like there's times when you'll see the same storefront over a couple of different places, but generally it's pretty impressive that the scale that like they were able to build this city, and the switching between like being in a boat and running around on land is pretty cool. And I think that the thing that really has me interested in it beyond some of that story stuff is the way that the game is structured, which is that instead of giving you quests and saying, go do this, it has, you have this case book and you'll have leads. So like you may have, your case may be figure out what happened on this ship that went on this expedition. And then in that case, you'll have a lead that's like, well, we know that the expedition's office was at the corner of these two streets. So then you open up your map and you have an icon for that lead, and you find those two streets, you put the icon there yourself, and then you travel there and like through the open world and go into that office and then start looking around. And then when you're in these investigative spaces, you're doing kind of a mix of like just like pixel hunting kind of. The game's pretty good about it doesn't just like highlight everything you can interact with, but it also does help when you get kind of close to it. A little icon will pop up that you can interact, but like you do kind of have to see across the room, like, oh, I see an open book on that desk, I should go look at that. It's not like it gives you an icon for every little thing you can click on. And it does tell you once you've collected all of the evidence in a location. So it's nice because you can kind of like, you're never like, you always know if you finished an area, but it also doesn't hold your hand in finding every little thing. And there's other things like you have a magical sight thing because you have the reason you were drawn to Oakmont, Massachusetts is you've been having like visions and nightmares. And so you have like the ability to like see stuff that happened in the room. And then, you know, you might find out that like from investigating there that the name of the ship, you might find the name of the ship and some other records, and you can take that to like name of the ship and like, oh, they were advertising that they offer these services to people that need, like that you can charter the ship. So then you can go to the newspaper outlet and look for like advertisements about charter ships at during this time frame. And then it'll pull up evidence for you from there. So it really does make you feel like you're kind of a private investigator, because you have to figure out like, oh, this is referencing a crime, I should go to the police station and check out their archives. Oh, this person was injured, I better go to the hospital because that's where they would have gone. And that part of it is really, really cool. The less successful stuff is it has like some kind of combat in it. I actually last night playing had a lot more fun with the combat than when I was playing it the other day. But there are monsters. They're pretty gross and scary, and you have to shoot at them with guns, and it feels kind of thin. It's not a lot of feedback. There's a really weird skill mechanic where or like skill tree where you're getting experience points and then putting skills, and it's stuff like there'll be like 4 abilities in a tree, and one of them will be like, you have an extra bullet in your gun, which is like not very impactful.
Damn.
It'll be things like
Wow.
gain 10% more health. It's just like, none of this matters. You didn't have to put this doesn't really do anything. I also really enjoy that as you get clues, you put them together in a menu screen that's called the Mind Palace, which is a very good name for a thing. But anyway, like I think it's a really interesting, I think I'm going to end up really, really clicking with it more and more as I play it, because I'm really liking the stuff that it's doing early on. I also think it's something that you have to have a pretty specific interest in, both the thematic stuff that's happening with like sea monsters and weird racial tension. I'll say that Matt Galt for Vice gave it a pretty positive review from the perspective of its story and writing. So that's encouraging to me, that it doesn't totally drop the ball on some of the race stuff, because that is something that I would think Vice would be pretty hard on it for if it was doing things that are not cool there. But it's also janky in a lot of ways. Like when you get in your boat, there's no animation for it. You like walk up to the boat and click your mouse, the left mouse button, which is the interact button, and then you're just in the boat. Like it just like there's like no animation for you getting in it. So there's a lot of like kind of weird little stuff like that. I really like the voice acting. The main character's voice is like very cheesy, in the sense, not even in like a, just in like a, like, I need to understand where to go next, and you're going to tell me, like very 20s noir private detective kind of thing that I think fits really well, but it's not going to click with everybody. But yeah, I don't know. I recommend it if you have any kind of like, if you really like the idea of like a detective game. It's as good a detective game as I've seen. It makes me think when I finish it, I should probably try the last Sherlock Holmes game that they did, because I think it pulls a lot of mechanics from that one. But I also played the other thing that I played some other stuff this week, but the thing that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit is a buddy and I played some Grand Theft Auto Online last night.
Hell yeah, you did.
Yeah, which is a super weird thing. And I feel like people know it's a super weird thing. But what I wanted to air was, or like talk about, was that game is so hard to play with people you know. I don't know, Alex, if you've tried to play it with other people.
Yeah.
Like with friends. It's like, so you can join a friend's session. Like my buddy, because I've played probably 5 or 6 hours of GTA Online by myself. So my friend, I was like, we were talking about like, we should play some games this weekend, and looking through the Steam sale, and I was like, well, I think I'm going to get Deep Rock Galactic because that's finally on sale, which I did, and I'm excited to try that. But then I was like, also GTA 5 is like $15. It's pretty fun to play online. You don't have to play the story to play online. I recommend it at that price as like a fun thing to play this weekend for a few hours. And so my buddy bought it. And so like I joined his session. When you're in the session though, there's no way to like make a party. You're just kind of like, you're in the same world, and you can highlight your friend so you can find them, but you can't like party up. You could still like kill each other and stuff, because you're just like 2 players playing in the same session. On PC now, the sessions seem like they're around 20 people, but sometimes they'll be less, sometimes they'll be around that number. And then when you go to so I have my matchmaking set to closed, but even if you set your matchmaking to closed, there's a split second when people can still join your missions when you start them. So like we kept trying to do a mission, and every time I would try to start it, it would immediately fill up with people. So, and he couldn't be in it because we're not like in a party, so we didn't join together. And so we spent like 20 minutes trying to figure out how to get in a mission together. We finally managed to get in a level together. The 2 people that we match made with had no fucking idea what the level was. We had to like fly a helicopter around and steal cars. but the person that jumped in the pilot seat of the helicopter like didn't understand that they needed to operate the controls of the helicopter. It also didn't really make any sense as to why this was a multiplayer mission, because like you fly helicopter to car, pick up car, fly it back to the place where you drop it off, and then drop it off. So like one person's flying the helicopter and the other 3 people are just like sitting in the helicopter, not doing anything, which didn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, we failed because the pilot crashed and died. And so we spent like 20 minutes on trying to do that mission and failed. And I could feel my friend being like, I'm going to refund this. I'm going to refund this. I'm going to refund this. And then finally we found out that you can do a private session if you quit out of the online and go into the single player and then go back into the online. You can set a private session where it's just you and your friends. Doesn't solve the matchmaking problem. You have to select jobs that are not currently available jobs on the map, because those are the popular ones. So you have to pick the unpopular ones and then invite your friend into the unpopular, like into the jobs like lobby. They join, and then you can matchmake in people with similar skill levels and stuff, like a wide range of different like types of people. And that just sends them a notification that says like, someone somewhere is doing this job. Do you want to do it? And so then they have to go into their in-game phone and select whether or not they want to join the mission. And then finally you can launch it. And then still, if you fail, one person can quit out and then the mission ends. It's just like the weirdest. It's so, on the one hand, it's super fun when it works. Like we had a blast with the like 5 or 6 missions that we finally figured out like a streamlined way to play it. But man, for being one of the most popular games in the world, that the menus and like servers and systems of that game are a complete disaster. I don't know if you found that, Alex, when you played it, but it's just a mess. Yeah,
the only way I really found to enjoy it is making like the custom race playlist kind of things, which are pretty interesting.
Those are fun.
Yeah, but like if you're looking to just do GTA missions, yeah, it's kind of garbage trash fire for that. But if you want to do the custom races and playlists and stuff, that stuff's pretty good. That's where it kind of turns into Trackmania.
We found that there's a number of like 2-player specific missions, and we found that those were pretty fun to play, just the 2 of us. And those are ones that no one is playing, so it was easy to like make a private game of those for us. What I still don't understand though, I've now like, I just sat there and like researched this for a while last night. What I still don't understand is that there's like a menu where you can set up a mission, and then but they don't have all the missions that are on the map. So like there's missions on the map that you go do that are like have cutscenes and stuff. You can't do those missions from the job creator. So I don't really understand, like, is the only way to access those missions by going to them on the map? What's the disconnect? Like, what's the difference in those missions? It's very strange. I want to play the heist stuff because that seems like pretty cool. I've been watching Giant Bomb play that stuff, and it seems fun. And then there's just stuff like, I want to buy a blimp in that game. I want to buy a blimp and fly it around and do dumb shit with a blimp. That sounds like a lot of fun. And to do that, you need a fuckload of money. And so I'm going to keep playing missions so that I can try to get enough money to buy a blimp. It's just...
I mean, honestly, if I was playing that game, I would want a blimp too, so I don't blimp.
Well, and they keep putting really weird stuff in, like you could like jetpacks and like cars that I think turn into airplanes. Not the, obviously there's the transform races stuff. That's like the Sonic racing game. But I mean, like just for the open world, I think you can buy a car that transforms into an airplane. That's the kind of stuff that I want to fuck around with because it sounds really fun. But there's a lot of stuff to cut. And there's things like, unless you go into the menu and edit the notifications stuff, NPCs will call you every 2 minutes to tell you should like buy a nightclub or like, hey, go buy a bunker. And like the calls don't stop. They just keep like, there's just constant NPCs talking to you about dumb bullshit all the time. And then I found that you can change the notification settings, but nothing tells you that. You have to basically like Google everything. Whenever a thought occurs to you in this game, you have to go into Google and like GTA 5 online, how to make private games, because like there's no help at all in the game.
Not great.
so weird. Anyway, that was my week. Sinking City. That I played Dauntless too, but I don't have a ton of thoughts on that. That's a great game. You should play Dauntless.
Sounds good. So I don't really have much more to say either than playing Mario Maker, which I'll probably be continuing to play through this next week. Other than I've been playing through more Pokemon, so got as far as into Heart Gold as I am right now. There's still a lot of post game stuff I haven't gotten into, but then I got through the Elite Four, beat all the gym leaders, and I was like, oh, let's go beat Red because I did that when I was a kid, and Red is fucking high level, and I don't know what I did as a kid to get to that. Like how did I do it? Because you go and you're like at the end of like defeating all the gym leaders and stuff, my Pokemon are all like, about level 50 or something. Like they're all like leveled pretty normally, and like I think the biggest complaint about Pokemon like the Heart Gold, Soul Silver is that some of the leveling is a little bit bullshit. Like I did have to grind before I could actually beat the Elite Four because my Pokemon were like I like played the game normally and then suddenly my Pokemon were completely underleveled. But then I looked at like Red for being able to beat him. It's like mine are like level 50. That's great. His are all like 80 plus. Like his weakest Pokemon is level 80. His highest level Pokemon is level 88. And I'm just like, what the fuck? What did I do? Did I just like grind like for hours and hours as a kid? Like, what did I even do? And so I'm like,
time as a kid, like
that's true. That's true. Like me with playing Pokemon Gold, I'm like, well, I have like limited games, and I'm just going to like just play this constantly, which I guess is the thing I did. But like, man, that's a weird one. But anyways, so I might go back to that one because that's my favorite region, and Gold and Heart Gold are my two favorites in this series, like total. But I just started playing Pokemon Emerald, and it's really good. I feel like Pokemon, like there's not a lot to say. Just it's been very nice to have in the background since I've been having some busy weeks and kind of stressful weeks to be able to just be like, let's play some Pokemon. So.
Have you caught any shinies?
Not yet. Nothing big. I haven't gone back to Let's Go Pikachu and done some shiny hunting recently. Might do that later, but it just takes so long that it's nice when you get one, but at the same time you can be wandering around trying to catch a shiny for hours, and it gets it. I feel like I need to be in this specific mood for it. Also, some of the places that are specifically really good for shiny hunting in Let's Go are also get like the worst leg. Like if you like Viridian Forest is really good for shiny hunting because it's like spawns a ton of Pokemon, and it's really good. But if you have like a high catch combo and you have a lure going, it is going to just chug along. Like the Switch is like, I can't handle this at all. So that got a little bit annoying, but I haven't tried shiny hunting in other games, to be honest, but I think it's easier in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So if I end up replaying some of that, I might try that because it's a cheap thrill to be like, my Pokemon's a slightly different color. But once you start it, it's exciting. So yeah, I think that's it for me. And we've been going for a while, so unless any of you have any pressing thoughts, I think we can call it this week.
Oh, I wanted to ask if either of you are still playing Wizards Unite.
Sort of.
No.
I deleted it.
I might delete it. I'm also mad at J.K. Rowling, so I'm like, I don't want to give you my time.
Oh, no, what did she do now?
I mean, like turf.
Yeah, it's not necessarily new, but a lot of people have been focusing on the fact that she follows a lot of like anti-trans activists on Twitter, and people are like, "Oh, she's just doing research, but she's not."
What?
It's like, I don't know. Okay, that's a justification. They're like, "Oh, she just wants to read it, but it doesn't mean she endorses it." But it's like, yeah, but she doesn't follow any pro-trans activists.
Also never publicly endorsed like any trans people or movement. Like, fuck that, whatever.
But like when you follow when you follow like a dozen anti-trans activists and then you don't follow any pro-trans activists.
Didn't she also there was like liked tweets or something too, right?
Yeah, they tried to justify that of like, oh, she pressed.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
Which, that could.
She has such a good track record,
but it doesn't happen multiple times, and it's just like there's so many like little things that you're just like, ugh. But anyways, it's like
liked a tweet before. I have not accidentally liked like a bunch of tweets, you know?
Right, exactly. You might do that once, but you don't slip. Your hand doesn't slip like 20 times, and you don't accidentally follow people like a bunch of TERFs. Like you don't accidentally follow a bunch of people where that's a major part of the internet presence. And like I'm not necessarily going to not play any more Harry Potter games or like do any more Harry Potter stuff because it's like, God damn it, that's still like a big part of my like.
And at this
childhood.
point, let's be honest, like anyone making a Harry Potter game, she has such little involvement. Like, I don't know.
Right. But like it kind of soured my like.
Totally, yeah, that's reasonable too.
So I was just like, well, fine, fuck you, and then I haven't played it since. But
yeah. Also, I mean, like that game is just so. The map is so. I can't do anything in that game when I'm at home or at work. Yeah. And like, I can't do anything. Like it takes so much like brain power to do stuff in that game. There's so much like thinking. I can't walk and play it.
Yeah, so, that's why
it's I don't know. I like a lot of what it's doing. I just wish that I could. I wish that there was more of a way to like kind of move in a wider radius, move around more without having to actually physically go places. Because I'd rather just play Pokemon if I'm going to do that. And I also think that this game is going to be, I mean, like, it seems like it came and went very quickly from like people talking about it. So I think that it's going to be a huge disappointment for Niantic. Like, that's my assumption.
I mean, its install base it never hit anywhere close to the highs of Pokemon Go's install base. And I
mean, ultimately, Harry Potter's a bigger IP than Pokemon. So you would think that, I mean, it may not be a bigger IP among people who play video games, but that's not really the target audience of their games, because people who play video games will play their games either way. Mm-hmm. And like Pokemon Go had such a huge impact when it came out, like just culturally, like it was talked about on the news so much and like such a big thing. And I haven't seen any of that with Wizards Unite. And for a game that the IP has to cost more money than Pokemon, like that's not a good thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I feel like if I asked some people who don't necessarily follow games and they're like, oh, did you hear that there's Pokemon Go for Harry Potter? People will be like, what? I have no idea.
And also why? Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that would be my guess, is that they would be like, well, why would I want to do that?
And like, I haven't put a lot of time in either of the two games, but the reason I got mad at Wizards Unite, and actually I live probably in a spot that's a little bit better in terms of like, I can do a thing or two from home. Like I live a block off of like a really big street in Brooklyn. So there's like a lot of stuff behind me, but like, so yeah, I could do like a little bit like from home, but I've been walking a lot to like the train station instead of taking the bus. And that's like a 40-minute walk normally. And I was late to work because it was fine. It was a slow day, but like I was late to work because I had to keep stopping to do stuff. Like, yeah, it was like, I feel like it's much less the case with Pokemon Go that I could, you can play that game and walk. Like you can't play Harry Potter.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like, and I think that that's a big deal for this type of game. Like it needs to be something that you can play and walk. Otherwise, like why are you playing a game where you need to physically walk somewhere if you can't play it and walk at the same time?
Right. It's like, it's very much a physically like like it wants you to go places physically, but it also wants you to like stand still to play it. It's annoying.
Like, yeah, it's not the kind of thing where you can say, oh, I'm going to play this on my daily commute, which is kind of what I did with Pokemon Go for the short time that I was playing. It was like, okay, when I'm walking to work, I'm going to play this game and that's fine. Whereas this one, it's like you have to go out and decide, okay, I'm going to go play Harry Potter for a while. And so let me go do that and not do anything else. And this will be my whatever I'm doing now. It's like I can't find the time to add this into my day.
Which we do with Pokemon as well, but I don't know. It just Pokemon, it feels much more like, it's sort of like what Sam was talking about, where like if my partner and I go out on a walk and she doesn't really care about Harry Potter. She plays Pokemon and I play Harry Potter. What's going to happen is she's going to stop. She's going to like stop momentarily to catch something or stop at a Pokestop. And I'm going to be going, wait. Hang on. I got to finish this.
Yeah.
And we're going to stand there for 5 to 10 minutes. And that's just not like, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that'll probably do it. So, end of the show stuff. Alex, where can people find you?
On top of a building on Monday, watching fireworks.
Sounds very good. Pat, how about you?
You can find me at PJC Plays, where I'll be emphatically tweeting about the U.S. Women's National Team. Hopefully emphatically tweeting about the U.S. Women's National Team this Tuesday as we take on England in the semifinals of the Women's World Cup. Yesterday was a very good game. People should watch soccer.
Yeah, people were psyched on it.
It was so good. It was nerve-wracking, but so good.
Erica, how about you?
You can find me at Erica, AIREHCUH, and you can also find me at KCON next week.
Woo, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. I'm excited for me too.
I want to hear everything. And I told Erica this, but I've like I still have the song Bloom Bloom by The Boys stuck in my head. Like it is a good song.
You have no idea how happy I was reading that message this morning. I'm like, I've done it.
I was just sitting around going like, I was like humming this and I'm like, what song is this? And I was like, oh, it's The Boys.
The Boys.
The Boys.
Hell yeah, it is.
You can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. I'm going to be at a convention next week too, but I'm also, I have like a lot of cool stuff I'm going to this week. Like I'm going to the Lonely Island tonight. Next week is Carly Rae Jepsen. So I'll probably be tweeting about that.
It's very exciting.
I'd like to share that now the replies to the Crew 2's 1-year anniversary infographic are all, no one can read this because they made it in too low a quality to be able to read the detail. What I can tell you is that there's a section for their free updates. I don't really know I can't read what these stats are for, but I can tell you that the first one had 40M, the second one had 14M, and the third one had 3M. So assuming that's some kind of player action being taken, that's a pretty steep decline over the 3 free updates.
Yes, it is.
You can find out more about the Crew 2's bad infographic at the Crew Game on Twitter.
Right. And then also follow us anywhere you can find podcasts. Leave us a review, maybe, or rating, or...
Wait, I just wanted to let you guys know, Sam and I went through... That sounds like salmon. Anyways, we went through our aggregated platforms and where we're getting the most listens and views. And do you guys know what our number one platform is?
I know what it is.
I do.
Everyone already knows what it is.
Is it Pornhub?
It's Pornhub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the platform with the most users. Let's be honest.
That's true.
So thanks Pornhub. If you're listening in, well, we'll keep you guys up to date.
Oh, also
continuing to disappoint you with no pornography on this.
We will. I can promise you that we will be continuing to disappoint you with that. Also, a shout out to the group where we all pretend to be boomers. People should joke should get in on that joke.
It's so good from
It's
what you
very
guys have been
good.
sharing.
It honestly like kind of was like helped me get through this hard week where I'm just like, time to yell about being a boomer.
A reporter who works with BuzzFeed was messaging people in the group to try to get them to like explain it to them, and everyone was responding to their messages as a boomer, saying like,
Bless.
"I'm blocking you." This is very good. Don't spoil the joke.
No, it's a precious group that has grown exponentially, and it's wonderful. I love it.
Since when are cheeseburgers $2? I remember 34 cents, and they want $18 an hour.
Oh my god.
I made a fake post like fake sending a text to my husband saying I want a divorce, and I'm still very proud of that.
People keep sharing the hot dog pie.
Oh, I've seen that like 20 times.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that'll do it for us. All right, bye guys.
Have a good
Bye.
one.
Bye.